Morning, everyone. I ask everyone to please rise for the singing of our national anthem, and I'll call the meeting to order. All right, Council, we have before us an agenda. Item 1.0 is additions to the agenda, and I see two to be inserted on the agenda at 8.3, the RCMP report for a statistical report for the month of November. And item 8.4, the Drayton Valley Brazeau County Fire Services report for the month of November. Can I get a motion to accept those two items as additions to the agenda? Councillor Bossert, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Schuler, all in favor? Carried. Item 3.0, corrections or amendments to the November 19th, 2014 regular meeting of council minutes. Councillor Long.
Thank you. Just a very little one, but I note under on page 13 there, 9.13 on my council report, I did not attend the RCMP information session on November 4th. I have no idea where I was on November 4th at this stage, but I know I wasn't there, so if we can remove that.
So noted. Any other changes to the regular meeting of November 19th? How about the item 3.2, the November 19th, 2014 public hearing minutes for bylaw 2014-18D? No? Could I get a motion then to adopt the November 19th, 2014 regular meeting of council minutes as amended? Councillor Nadeau, all in favor? That's carried. Could I get a motion to adopt the November 19th, 2014 public hearing minutes for bylaw 2014-18D? Councillor Bossert, all in favor of that? That's carried. Excellent. Item 5.0, delegations. First up, Marty Pickett. Is Marty here? I don't see him. From the Primary Care Network? No. 5.2, Sandy Font from the Drayton Valley Municipal Library. Good morning.
We're just here this morning to tell you about one of the latest things in library service, the Me Card. The Alberta government has successfully launched the Alberta-wide borrowing program. This allows a library patron from our library to go to any library, public library in Alberta and borrow items, as long as you're in good standing. Alberta libraries have come together to provide increased resources, services, and reduce barriers for library patrons. We actually have a short video to show you,
Sure.
and then if you have questions, we'll try and answer them.
Thanks very much. Is there supposed to be sound?
Yes.
Yeah. It may not be factually accurate.
It's much better with sound.
Yeah.
What you can do is go to our website, DraytonValleyLibrary.ca, and the bottom right has a little YouTube clip, and this is it. And then on the top of our website, on the page, is a banner that runs, and you can click on it and join Me Libraries. It runs you through all of that, but obviously it is better with sound, so.
And essentially, the premise is it's a program to facilitate province-wide borrowing. Is
Yes.
that correct? Yeah. Okay.
And for our patrons, because there is no library fee, it's free to borrow now anywhere in public libraries in Alberta.
Right. That's
You
great.
have to switch out your old card. This is the new one, and it can go through the washing machine and not get wrecked,
Oh.
like the old one did.
Good. Yeah, I was going to open it to council for any questions. Councillor Bossert.
Good morning, ladies. Thanks for coming in. I've just become a new patron of the library, and it's amazing how it opens up the world when you go back into your books, and I love it. So with this Me card, the patron goes onto the website and reserves a book, or do you have to come into the library to reserve a book through the Me Library card?
You've always been able to reserve a book just going onto the website,
Okay.
but with the Me Library card, you can go to Calgary, Edmonton, anywhere,
Okay.
and borrow items.
So then it gets delivered to our library here, and then how are we notified that the book is in?
You know, if you borrow at Edmonton, you have to go into their website to find out if it's late or anything.
Okay.
The video explained that you sign up for each different library, like say Edmonton Public, that's not within the track system.
Okay.
Like Calgary, Red Deer, Edmonton. And when you sign up with them, you can just go in with your card and borrow while you're there. You can borrow.
Okay.
If you want to do interlibrary
Yeah.
loans, you just go on the website.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 5.3, Staff Sergeant Malcolm Calahoo with the November RCMP report. Welcome, Staff Sergeant. This is your first, second time before council.
I was here last month.
Right, I was not. Yeah. Okay.
Move that up a little bit. So, just a few things. First of all, apologies for not getting these to you guys sooner. I know you didn't have much time to review them. However, just a few things that I wanted to point out. One of the main concerns when I did get these here just recently was I noticed that they're on the assault line 5, there was a 214% increase. That is an incorrect number. I looked at our files to see exactly what was what with that, because obviously that caused me a bit of concern. We actually have 12 files, not 22, so I think that was a typo, and it was reflected as such. So, just going down through the list, some of the things that I wanted to highlight. I had sent an email to everyone about a joint alert and Drayton Valley GIS enforcement action that took place later last month. 3 individuals were arrested, and there was cocaine, methamphetamine, and a half pound of marijuana, and thousands of dollars in cash that were seized. Again, excellent work by our General Investigation Section. I'm continuing to be impressed by their diligence and their work ethic in the community. They are starting to really make a difference within the drug trafficking areas, so just wanted to bring that to light, and I'm very much looking forward to our next operations that we're looking at. So, but moving back to the main list, the other one that I just thought was kind of more of an interesting note, but again, due to the time of year, was with our property damage, motor vehicle collisions are up a fair amount. Again, most of them are deer strikes, that type of thing. But you know, we're fairly steady on most of our stats from even last month. And I just got some statistics. We wrote 41 violation tickets this month in the town. I got those stats from Sergeant Delisle, so I think, and I looked at there's some traffic enforcement, some liquor enforcement, so there's a good smattering of details there as well. So, other than that, most of the other fancy charts and pie graphs, they really kind of just say what's in the first sheet. So if anyone has any questions, I'm certainly open to them.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Nadeau.
Well, with Christmas season, and thank you for coming again. We didn't scare you off the last time. With Christmas season comes Christmas parties and so on. So I imagine you guys are going to be setting up. I understand you had the candy cane check stop last weekend.
Yes.
Are you starting with regular check stops now as
Yeah.
it's the holiday season?
Yeah, we're going to be starting with that. Some more traffic enforcement within the town. Some scheduled check stops where we'll be bringing in not only regular members, but we'll try and bring in whether it's commercial enforcement or whatever the case may be. We'll obviously involve the town bylaw and get them involved with whatever we're doing as well. But yes, that is certainly a priority in December with driving. And actually, you know, the candy cane, to speak of the candy cane check stop, was actually it was a lot of fun. It was, you know, standing out there, it wasn't too bad, but you know, there was a lot of apprehension in the people when they first pulled up. They didn't know what was going on until we started to hand them a candy cane. It's just a small reminder to say, you know, drive safe this holiday season. Please don't drink and drive, and get a designated driver. So, just a nice awareness all around, and it was a good time for a couple hours.
Okay. Anything further? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I will see you next month.
In January, yeah.
All right.
All right, item 5.4, Fire Chief Tom Thompson, report for the month of November. Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Council. Today I'm here to present the November stats for the fire service. We had a fairly busy month with a total of 26 calls. Of course, not the volume that our local police detachment has, but when we're dealing with a volunteer staff, that is a significant number of calls. Just to go through a few of them for you, we had a total of 5 fire calls. One of them involved a planter that was on fire out in in front of a local commercial building. We also had a vehicle fire, 2 structure fires. Unfortunately, one of them involved a fatal incident, which was unfortunate. As well, we also had a fire at the local peat moss farm, which is not far out of town. Unfortunately, we've been out there several times now. Once you have a fire in peat moss, it's very difficult to get it out. So we've been out there several times in the last couple of months dealing with the situation. In regards to motor vehicle collisions, we had 3 single vehicle rollovers. One of them, we also had another one in which we were required to land stars for some serious injuries involved in that one. As well, we also had a motor vehicle collision in town involving 2 vehicles and a 2-vehicle collision out in the Breton area. So, as you can see, as the weather changes and the roads start to get bad, our numbers for motor vehicle collisions start to increase. In regards to rescue calls, we were called, unfortunately, to a suicide incident, which involved a young individual, unfortunately. Those calls are always tough for our volunteer staff, but it's one of those things that we have to deal with. Alarm calls, we were called to 6 residential and 1 business. We are moving now into a situation where our commercial businesses are getting the message. We have been hitting them pretty hard with fines, and especially the repeat offenders, and so they are starting to get the message. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with the residential alarms, and again, a lot of it is because of people that are renting the home, and they are not fully aware of how the alarm system works in terms of either calling in a password or being able to shut it off. So consequently, we are still dealing with a significant number of residential alarms. We also fine those individuals for repeat offenders, and we have been very diligent in our fining process for those. In regards to miscellaneous calls, we assisted EMS with 2 calls, 2 lift and carries, where individuals needed help being lifted onto a stretcher and then into the ambulance. As well, we also dealt with a power line that was down on the ground in town. So that brought us to a total of 26, which brought us to a total for the year, for the end of November, 296 calls. We have now since passed 300. We're well into 300 now, so it is starting to get busy at the Christmas season. A few other things that have been going on over the last little while. We have been busy with our appreciation nights. We did a year-end award appreciation night for our staff. It's a bit of a fellowship where the staff get together and we kid each other and give each other some laughs and enjoy the evening. Another part of that, we also had a spousal appreciation night. Even though they are not the people on the ground running to the calls and doing that stuff, they are a very significant, important part of the fire service. And whenever new spouses join the department, I always ask, how long have you been on the department? Because not only is there a significant loved one on the department, but so are they, even though they don't realize it. And it is trying at times, and so it's very important that we recognize their contributions for looking after kids or doing all of the things at home while the significant other is doing the job of being a firefighter. So we spent a lot of time conversing with them and chatting with them and working through some of the issues that they have to make their life a little bit easier when the pager goes off. As well as our local staff sergeant has indicated, we also joined forces with the RCMP and EMS for the Candy Cane Check Stop. It's a good opportunity for us to remind people not only of drinking and driving and all of those vehicle type things, but also fire safety as well. This tends to be the time of year when people use candles a lot, so we remind people about candle safety and just to be cautious when they're plugging their lights in and all of that kind of stuff. That was a very successful event, and everybody had a good time. As well, we have a couple of new things that came into the fire hall that we're very excited about. Our new SCBA compressor finally arrived. It's taken quite a long time for them to construct it, but it's finally arrived in the hall, so we're very excited about it getting put into operation. Our maintenance coordinator right now is working to get it secured to the floor so it doesn't take out one of the walls in the fire hall. So once that's done, then we'll be able to get that into operation. Another thing that is coming very soon is our new covered trailer for our Ranger. It is in the final stages of being built, so it will be here within the end of the year, so we're looking forward to that as well. And that concludes the report for November. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Chief Thompson. I think it's particularly appropriate that you recognize the spouses of your officers. They keep the home fires burning, as it were,
Very much so.
pursuant to safety protocols, of course. And,
Yes.
yeah. So, but well done to acknowledge them. They're very integral to the success of the fire service. And I'll open it up to questions. Did Councillor Schuler and then Councillor Nadeau.
Thank you. When you indicated year-to-date you're over 300 calls, how does that compare to previous years?
That is up from last year. I think last year we've ended the year at 296, so we were up a little bit from there. In previous 2013, we were over 300 calls as well, so it's fairly consistent with what we've had over the last couple of years.
Councillor Nadeau.
I just want to commend you on that. When I can't remember how many times my dad, we would be driving in the suburban Banff Avenue, and I'd get kicked out because the call would come out and said, walk home. So, and we are there when the pagers go off at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that stress and that worry about your loved one and whether or not they're going to come back wholly. My dad was involved in a fire in Fort McMurray when he was still a firefighter there, and he was hospitalized for 3 days because of smoke inhalation. And I remember my dad being hooked up to machines and so on, and you face that every time, that vision, and when you're 7 or 8 at that time, that will always haunt you every time that goes out. So what the family members do in supporting you guys, it goes a long way, and I heard it was a wonderful night, so just from some of the wives outside in the community about the support system that they have within the department, so I think that's wonderful. I also want to commend all the employers that employ our volunteer staff, because you go in the middle of the day and you could be on shift, and no matter what happens, those firefighters on call always go out, and they're always there for our protection. So I just want to commend all the employers that do employ our fire department, because they make those sacrifices as well.
Thank you.
And,
you're absolutely right. That is a big thing.
Yeah. And it's kind of a silly thing, but the current resurgence of the elf on the shelf. And
Yes.
People being very inventive about the elf on the shelf. I know that's why we were late for school this morning. My children couldn't find him, and that took precedence, apparently. But people being aware of where they put the elf on the shelf, because, and it's magical and all, but to remember that it is a highly flammable individual.
Yes.
And we have seen on Facebook and so on other things that people are kind of forgetting that it is essentially, it's very flammable. So, and I know there have been fire departments that have responded because of those, being too close to lights or being too close to other things that people are kind of just forgetting about the next steps in safety. So just a reminder.
Well, it's nice to see that the elf on the shelf just didn't hit our house. It's gone to some other locations as well. But yes, our little elf has been roaming around our household as well, causing all kinds of chaos, which is fun for the kids. But yes, they are flammable, and sometimes they get too close to candles and lamps and whatnot. So that's an important tip to know.
Anything further? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 6.0 is public time, and of course this section of the agenda is relatively new, and intended for individual members of the community to come and take the opportunity, take a moment and express their concerns. And Randy Rye.
Well, good morning all. Just to let you know, probably by now you've all seen it, but the ministerial did write a letter having her reinstated back into council. We went out beyond the borders of the immediate ministerial and given invitations to all the faith groups to take part of this. And we're asking again that you guys would reinstate that. And I wrote in the letter, January meeting would be a great time to start that. So we're asking you for your cooperation. We took, and I thank you, Mayor, to come to the ministerial, and we took into consideration some of the concerns, and we acted on those, and hopefully that is suitable for everybody here at the council. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything further from the public? Very good. Item 7.0, decision items. 7.1, Councillor Nato, subdivision application.
Administration has received the following report from West Central Planning Agency regarding a lot line adjustment for commercial property municipally described as 34 17 50th Street. On September 24, 2014, an application was submitted to adjust the south boundary of Lot 17 further north by 15.24 meters. This would result in proposed Lot 23 being 2.9 acres and the remainder Lot 17 being 1.21 acres. The land is currently zoned C2. West Central Planning Agency conducted a site visit on November 12, 2014, and noted that the lots were under construction. The lots appear to be serviced with the utility services. The lot line adjustment proposal was circulated as part of the approval process. No comments or concerns were received from the other agencies or utilities or adjacent landowners. West Central Planning Agency did not receive any further comments from external agencies, utility companies, or adjacent landowners. No reserves are due as this is a lot line adjustment. The proposed subdivision complies with the land use bylaw, and West Central Planning Agency recommends approval. Therefore, administration is recommending that council approve the subdivision application with the conditions attached. Therefore, I make the motion that council approve subdivision application DV 1410 with the conditions as attached below.
Thank you, Councillor Nato. Jen, did you have any comments to add to this before I ask council for questions?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. Council, any comments, questions, discussion? Councillor Schuler.
Thank you. Actually, not directly related to this, but just noticing on the map here, it shows 47th Street going south of Sunrise Village coming to an end. Does that street in any plan go further than that? Because I noticed in an aerial view that it appears to connect and come up beside this property, and I'm just wondering, is that actually in a plan, or is 47th Street going to end at that location?
I am not entirely too sure at this time, but I can definitely look into it and see if it's supposed to continue through or if that is where it's supposed to end.
Councillor Schuler, when you say come up beside this property, do you mean, where exactly do you mean?
Well, just looking in the aerial view, which is not this one, but it appears to connect between 3421 and 3417, between those two lots. And I don't know if that's just temporary, if that's...
Just north of 3417?
Yeah.
Right.
So-
I see from the aerial view.
Yeah,
That's-
from the
is
air-
that- Jen, is that 37th Avenue? Is that an intended extension of 37th Avenue?
Oh,
It just appears to be a lease road at this time. I don't believe it's meant to connect into 47th Street. There appears to be a well site on 3900, so I believe it's just a well site or a lease road to get to that well site.
Does that address your question? Okay. Any
Yeah,
further
yeah, it
questions? No discussion? Very good. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.2, Councillor Long, business license application 4042.
Thank you. Administration has received an application for a dog grooming business to be operating at 5016 47th Street. The applicant has stated that there will be 3 to 5 dogs groomed per day between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Parking will be provided in the rear of the property in front of the detached garage. The landowner has authorized this business operation. The applicant will not be doing any development to the building, so a development permit is not required. The lands are currently zoned R2, that's General Residential District, which a dog grooming business is neither a permitted nor discretionary use. Referral letters were sent to adjacent landowners within a 100-meter radius. One telephone call and one letter were received, and the letter is attached, with concerns regarding the proposed business. Both concerns were regarding the current residents' dogs escaping from the yard. Administration has addressed this concern, as well as other concerns that were raised in conditions that are to be attached to the license should the application be approved. The application for the operations of a dog grooming business is hereby presented to Council for decision. So I will make the motion that we approve this application with the conditions as attached.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Any discussion on this motion? Councillor Bossert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am aware of this new dog grooming business that is trying to establish itself in the community, but I have recently seen that this particular service provider is now going to be providing her service full-time at Canine Cooperatives, the dog facility here in town, and it looks like she will be there full-time. Something very, very clear on Facebook just the other day. So I'm confused about where she's actually going to conduct her business, whether it's going to be out of a home in a residential area, or whether it's going to be at a facility which also is licensed to operate in our community. So I think administration may need to go back to this applicant and ask her specifically where she wants to run her business, because I am getting conflicting information about it.
Jen, did you have anything to add to that?
I can definitely give her a call. I was unaware that she was planning to go anywhere else. As far as I knew, she was planning on doing it out of her home.
Councillor Wheeler.
At Canine Cooperative, there is no bathtub, there is no wash center, there is just a washroom, so she would not be grooming the dogs there. She might be working there and taking them from there, maybe, I don't know, but I was there last week doing Santa Paw photos, and there's no facilities for washing, so.
Councillor Schuler? Was that a question or a twitch? Or
A little of both, actually. It was a little bit of thought here. I guess in my opinion, looking at this application, whether she changes her mind partway through, this is what's been proposed to us, and either we're in favor of her working out of there or not, and if we are, whether she chooses to work out of there or not, she's just getting permission to do so. So to me, it doesn't matter what what she's put on Facebook or in the public anywhere. She has asked for an application to work out of her home, and we either approve that or deny that. So.
I would note as well that in the recommendations, leaving aside recommendation 3 as to the applicant's requirement to control noise from the dogs, I have no idea how one does that. Being the owner of one, well, essentially 2 dogs. But more to the point, points 5 and 6 would seem to indicate that there can only be one customer dog on the premises at any given time. The home occupation shall be confined to the detached garage. And in point 6, where it indicates there'll be no more than 5 dogs per day, only 1 dog may be in the shop at any given time. And so that suggests to me that there'll be a bit of, there has to be some back and forth, whether she's taking the dogs to and from that other facility that was mentioned or to the owners directly is not really our concern. But it indicates to me that there's only 1 dog, 1 customer dog on the premises at any given time. And is that your understanding, Jen?
From the proposal that she had submitted, that's what her intentions were, so I just added it into the conditions.
Right. And I think that's important as it relates to any neighborhood concerns. I have an additional question, and that is there was reference made in the application to a sign location on the garage. So is there a sign permit being applied for?
We're going to get further into that once the business license had been approved. It has to meet the signage requirements, and it can only be so big.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Any other questions, discussion? Councillor Wheeler?
I actually had the same concern on number 6, that it says no more than 1 dog will be in the shop at any given time, considering that she is operating a business. If a person showed up with their dog and walked in there to say, are you available today, is there any time slot, or dropping their dog off, then she'd be in violation without her doing anything. And I just don't know if that's fair to put someone in that position. If it said 2, then I'd be okay for leeway. And her plan might be to only have 1 dog in there, but it's just, I don't know.
It's entirely possible, I suppose, that, and I don't know whether she's indicated this to you, Jen, whether she's intending to operate on a by appointment only basis. Did she communicate that to you?
That was in her proposal, that it was by appointment only.
Oh, okay. Any other questions, concerns? No other comments? Councillor Nadeau.
It's not necessarily, well, kind of a concern, I guess. I don't love that it's going in the neighborhood, and I know the neighbors have a little bit of concerns, but I think your conditions are going to address those concerns, and I would hope that that gives the neighbors that kind of peace of mind to know that that's moving forward and that their concerns were addressed. At the same time, I commend her for coming forward. A lot of times people just do businesses out of their home without any business license, and we would have had no control. So I commend her coming forward, and I think and being fair to those conditions in terms of what Councillor Wheeler at the table has said. I think a little bit of leeway I would recommend, but at the same time, I'm just happy she came forward, and I think working and having a positive working relationship with the town in terms of moving forward with business licenses and so on is a good thing. So let's get her done and she can start her business.
Anything further? Jen?
From the comments that I had received from the concerned landowners, when I spoke to them on the phone and I did explain to them what the type of conditions would be on the license, they were quite satisfied. They were okay with the conditions because they are quite strict, but there is some leeway and it also addresses all their concerns, so they were quite satisfied with that when I had told them.
Very good. Last call. Very good. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Good questions. Item 7.3, sorry. Councillor Schuler, rezoning bylaw 2014-18D.
Thank you. Administration has received an application to rezone a parcel of land legally described as Lot 8, Block 16, Plan 170 KS, and municipally described as 4847 54th Ave. The proposed rezoning would change the land use from current R2 General Residential District to R3 Medium Density Residential District. Such rezoning would allow the landowner to develop a fourplex on these lands. Referral letters were sent to adjacent landowners within a 300-meter radius. One letter with concerns regarding parking was submitted. A public hearing was held at the November 19, 2014 regular meeting of council. There were no concerns raised. Rezoning bylaw 2014-18D is hereby presented to council for third reading. And I therefore move that council give third reading to bylaw 2014-18D for amendment of the land use bylaw and subsequent rezoning to allow development to proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Schuler. Any discussion on this motion? No? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.4, Councillor Wheeler, Corrections and Consolidations Bylaw.
Thank you. From time to time, typos, grammatical errors, or clerical errors were discovered within bylaws which have been adopted by council. Rather than bring these bylaws back to council for minor amendments, administration recommends that a bylaw as permitted under the Municipal Government Act be passed to allow such changes to be made by the town manager or the legislative services coordinator. The attached bylaw reflects the authority established under the MGA and includes the authority to A, consolidate a bylaw by incorporating all amendments into one bylaw. B, omit and provide for the repeal of a bylaw or a provision of the bylaw that is inoperative, obsolete, expired, spent, or otherwise ineffective. C, omit without providing for its repeal a bylaw or provision of the bylaw that is transitional nature or that refers to only to a particular place, person, or thing that has no general application through the municipality. D, combine two or more bylaws into one, divide a bylaw into two or more bylaws, move provisions from one bylaw to another, and create a bylaw from provisions of another to two or more others. Okay, who got that? Alter the citation and title of a bylaw and number of arrangements of its provisions. Add, change, or omit a note, heading, title, marginal note, diagram, or example to a bylaw. G, omit the permeable and long title of a bylaw, preamble, sorry.
Preamble, yeah.
H, omit forms and other materials contained in a bylaw that can more conveniently be contained in a resolution, and add authority for the form of other material to be described by resolution. I, correct clerical, grammatical, and typographical errors. J, make changes without changing the substance of the bylaw to bring out more clearly what is considered to be the meaning of the bylaw or to improve the expression of the laws. Therefore, I move council give first reading to the Corrections and Consolidation Bylaw 2014-23B.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. And to answer your question, I got that. Any discussion on this motion? It's essentially housekeeping, but it's a very well crafted bylaw, in my judgment, that addresses a great many ongoing concerns. So it's housekeeping plus. Gold seal housekeeping. How's that? Any substantial comments on this? No, just talking about my own. Very good. Thanks. I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Councillor Wheeler.
Therefore, I move council give second reading to Corrections and Consolidations Bylaw 2014-23B.
Any discussion? Councillor Wheeler, or sorry, Schuler.
Yeah, just it's not a question. It's just more of a comment. In reading this, the only thing that concerns me a little bit on this is by especially item G, by omitting the preamble of a bylaw, you can lose the intent of what the bylaw was trying to achieve. And then we also then allow them to make changes to try to clarify that, which could take it in a different direction. And just a little bit of concern there that, you know, things could, and it may not be all at once, it could happen over a period of a couple of years or months. And, you know, we're giving kind of, like, I know it clears up some stuff, makes it a little easier that not everything's coming back to us, but to me, there's a little bit of concern there that maybe it's a little bit too sweeping in powers. Just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's probably fair to say, although I don't want to speak for everyone in this regard, it probably occurred to all of us as we were reading through this that there's a bit of discretion to be applied here. Good judgment is key, and some of these powers will be exercised more than others, I expect. Omitting the long title, for example, is something that I expect may not be used as much as some of the other powers, but regardless, judgment is key, and I think what is incumbent on administration is to bear in mind that every action must be in some way defensible within the parameters of this bylaw, and because they may be called to account, yeah, in any event, it's intended to streamline and make our work more efficient, but yeah, good judgment, there's no substitute. Chandra, I would invite you if you had any comments further to that.
The main objective of this is to allow us to make those typographical changes if we've got a typo in there. This is based on the MGA and what the bylaw can allow, so we covered everything so that there is that authority, so that if something needed to be done immediately, we have the ability to do that without having to wait for or call a special council meeting. As you said, Mr. Mayor, the one we'd really be relying on would be I, because we do come across these little minor things, but they can look pretty major or foolish.
Yeah.
So this just allows us to be able to correct that and get it done in a timely fashion. So I don't see a lot of them being used often, if ever, but right. That was the primary objective of creating this bylaw, and then to allow the consolidation, because particularly with the land use bylaw, there are changes that happen consistently. So in order to keep a concise document and not have to make people refer to amendment after amendment, this allows us to make one document, which is, it references each new bylaw that it amended a certain section, but it at least gives a clear picture of what the overall bylaw is intended.
Hovering over this constantly will be Councillor Schuler's cautionary words.
Absolutely.
Councillor Wheeler.
Could we look at just adding in stating that anytime there is a change to a bylaw, that they'll just be emailed out to us, just so that we're kept up and aware of, and then it...
Well, I would, yeah, I don't mind any, not that let me rephrase that. Some kind of reporting is not uncalled for in circumstances like this. I would suggest that perhaps they come as information items to the next subsequent council meeting. So that's an amendment that you're proposing. Very good. Are you making that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
So, Madam Secretary, did you get that, or do you want her to repeat the motion, the amending motion?
So I would just, maybe you should just amend it with updates? Is that what you want to call it? Just
Yeah.
okay, so any bylaws come forward as information items.
So
of the
any
change.
amendments made to our bylaws pursuant to this bylaw, council shall be notified by way of adding them to the information items on the next available council agenda. Sound good? All right, so we have an amending motion, we have a motion for second reading, then we have a motion to amend the bylaw. So we'll take the amending motion first. Sound right? Yes. It's first day back in the saddle after a little bit, so I'm rusty. Very good, we have an amending motion. Any discussion on the amending motion? No? Very good. I'll call the question on the amending motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now we have the motion for second reading as amended. Sound right? Yes? Good. I'm looking at both of you. Very good. Any discussion on the motion as amended? Good. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Therefore, I move council consider giving third reading to corrections in consolidation bylaw 2014-23B.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Any discussion on this motion? No? All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Wheeler.
Therefore, I move council give third and final reading to corrections and consolidations bylaw 2014-23B.
As amended.
As amended.
Yes. Any discussion on this motion? Very good. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right. Item 7.5, Councillor Bossert, Planning and Development Policies.
Thank you. One of the duties of the Planning and Development Department includes the assigning of civic addresses to properties located within the town. This includes newly subdivided lots as well as redeveloped lots, which, when an increase in density occurs. A policy currently exists regarding the addressing of properties. However, it is due for updating to ensure that it reflects the current needs of the department. With regard to creating new lots for subdivision, legal descriptions are assigned by an Alberta land surveyor in keeping with municipal practices. The town does not currently have a policy in place which sets out how legal descriptions are assigned, though such a policy would ensure consistency when those are assigned. Further, the proposed policy for assigning legal descriptions can better assist administration in determining the phases of development. Therefore, I move that Council approve the addressing and naming policy PD 0214.
Right. Any discussion on this motion? Councillor Nadeau.
What are the steps now going? So if somebody wanted, so somebody can come forward now and present a name, and then what would be the steps?
Under the current policy, and it'll be the same under this policy, there will always be a number assigned. If you're meaning a street number or a street name, there is an application that they can submit forward, and that would have to come to council. The street number will always remain, however, council may approve that it also be known as ABC Drive. In terms of naming properties themselves or subdivisions, that is up to the developer. We will always require that it have a civic address, and that's for emergency services, for any utilities. A number is always required, so we issue those sequentially. And the name of the building is really just secondary to that. Just to expand on that, in terms of if it's a condominium or an apartment building or even a multi-unit commercial building, the town will only assign one address per legal lot. So it's up to the landowner then to provide the unit numbers, and then they just advise the town what those will be. We're not dictating what the numbers have to be, so.
Yeah, Sandra, I just wanted to clarify something that you just said. Maybe I didn't hear it correctly. I think you indicated that in terms of naming subdivisions, that's up to the developer. That would change, obviously, under this bylaw, because it says town council shall have final approval as to names assigned to subdivisions, et cetera. And now, just, and again, for clarification on current practice, thinking of one of the more recent examples, do you recall how Marana Estates got its name? Was that an application from the developer, or did they just choose the name and that's...
That was the name chosen by the developer. I believe we can change the wording, but the intent really is that council would maybe not necessarily formally approve, but not require a different name. If it were something very similar to an existing subdivision, perhaps council would request that something different be chosen to avoid some conflict. But ultimately, we do ask the developer to propose the name, which council would then generally accept or not.
Right. Just for my part, I like 1B, where it indicates council shall have final approval as to names of subdivisions, parks, recreation areas, etc.
Okay.
It is our community, and I think our community expects us to be charged with that responsibility. And so administratively, it would seem that some kind of application process be developed for developers who wish to assign a name to subdivisions.
We can certainly do that.
But I don't think that requires any change to the bylaw. Councillor Nadeau.
Sorry.
That's what I was essentially getting after. That's okay. Just because we're looking at going back into the schools, and we did go to one school, and we will be going back and talking to them, and we want to start with that competition about naming their neighborhoods. And so I'm just wondering how to go about that, and I assume that's kind of where this came from, because we started to have the discussion and so on. So I think it's great, but it's still having that authority and that application process, I think, is important. And how that works if there's an existing developed, say Aspen View as an example. So if one school decided they had an amazing name for it and we loved it, do we have the authority to rename one or to amend one? Or is that one off the table? That's my only question. It helps for me in terms of having a community conversation about it. It's just clarity on that.
I think perhaps if we tried to maybe name a section within a certain subdivision, so because Aspen View is an entire quarter section, if it were a cul-de-sac within Aspen View or something, and it had a specific name, not unlike Bonaventure Boulevard, if they came up with something that we really wanted to implement, I'm sure we could find a section that we could apply that to. But there are other areas within town that don't have names, so certainly it, maybe doesn't have to be an existing named subdivision, but we could start applying names to others, which would probably make life easier a little bit for us.
This kind of brings up an issue, and that is with the naming competition. It seems that there's maybe something missing here in paragraph 1B of the naming, the addressing policy, where it indicates council shall have final approval of names assigned to subdivisions, parks, recreation areas, etc. It might also indicate neighborhoods. For clarity, I mean, yeah, I don't know whether administration has any comment on that whatsoever.
I'm always happy to add more information, because somebody looking at it, going down the road, might think that that would be excluded. So a neighborhood or that block or something, we can certainly add those words in there to increase understanding. I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? Well, that was my next thing. wanted to ask somebody to present a motion to amend the bylaw as, or the policy as suggested, to include in paragraph 1B, after recreation areas, comma, neighborhoods, comma, town-owned buildings and facilities. Councillor Schuler wanted to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Very good, thank you. Any discussion on the amending motion? All right, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And so any further discussion on the motion as amended? Okay. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Bossert?
Further, I move that council approve the assigning legal description policy PD 0314.
Thank you, Councillor Bossert. Any discussion on this motion? No. All in favor? That one's a little more mechanical and clearer. Thank you. Very good. Item 7.6, Councillor Nadeau, the interim budget.
Thank you, Mayor.
Picked a good time when Clayton left the
out.
room. Pardon me?
The Council Management Committee has recommended approval of the 2015 interim operating and capital budgets for the town of Drayton Valley as presented on December 2nd, 2014. Council is being asked to approve the 2015 interim operating and capital budgets for the town of Drayton Valley. Therefore, I move that council approve the 2015 interim operating and capital budgets as presented for the town of Drayton Valley with operating revenues of $15,724,573, taxes net of school and senior requisitions $11,835,107, total revenues being $27,559,680. Operating expenditures, $24,673,832. Debt repayment, $1,096,890. And transfers to reserves, $1,788,958. And total expenditures being $27,599,680. Total expenditures and financing equal $34,743,023.
That was capital expenditures. Right, okay. I thought you said total. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Nadeau. Now I will call upon Clayton Seeley to illuminate us.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, obviously we've had several meetings about the budget, so I'll just pull out the highlights for you. So what's new in the 2015 interim operating budget, there is a tax increase of approximately 9% expected. Expected new taxes amounting to almost 6% from the new development. Additional human resource needs is 5 positions there. There's the safety and emergency coordinator, fire prevention officer, manager of the programs, sustainability coordinator, manager of recreation and culture. So that's basically it for the operating budget. It essentially was not a whole lot of other changes, just mostly human resources. With regards to the capital budget, this is where we spend most of our time, of course. With the continuation of 2014 being a fairly substantial investment in infrastructure, 2015 is not looking substantially different. Total budget, $34.4 million. Town shares 8.2, requiring out of that 8.2 million, 4.2 of it is new debt. So where's the biggest project? I've just pulled out the top few. Waste away was 20 million, so that skews the numbers substantially, given that the town share there is expected to be 0. 7.8 million in road projects, and that's, as you know, is a big chunk of our budget going forward. So the town share of that is 3.25, and there's several road projects, but those are the big ones: 43rd Ave, 50th Street South, 26th Avenue, starting that, and
47th Street and 46th Ave. We have addressed in this budget $2 million for general housing. What that's going to equal is still to be determined, but there is a budget for that, and that was the purpose of putting it in, was just to ensure that that was reflected in the budget. So what we're going to do there is still to be discussed. The water and sewer, we have $2 million with the town share of $600,000. Landfill, $845,000, all of which is town funded. And then common services was $800,000, again, most of that coming from the town. Most of that is equipment. Parks and recreation, $885,000, with the town share being $750,000. So that's the capital budget. Again, it's a lot of money that's planned to be spent. But again, that's at this point it's the interim budget, so this allows us to continue to operate until we pass the final budget. Final budget won't be passed until usually it's in April after we get the assessment data. So it's sometime between the end of February and the end of April is when we finalize the budget. But I wouldn't expect that there's going to be substantial changes from what's been presented in the interim budget. Just some final comments. 2014, we started, as you know, infrastructure studies and do not have those back yet. So we're anticipating that there is going to be some money required to be spent there. So we've allotted some money for the long-term budget. You didn't see much for 2015, of course, because a lot of that requires planning. But we have built into the long-term budget some money to assess that. At this point, whether that's enough, who knows? We'll wait until we get those studies. So since there's a substantial requirement in infrastructure, I think it's prudent to make sure that today when we pass the interim budget, but as well as the final budget in the spring, that we allow for some room there. When the final budget comes, of course, if the infrastructure studies come in and there isn't a requirement to invest as much as we're anticipating, then of course we can have a lower tax increase. But again, that's might as well warm up to that now. And then we've also, this budget is reflective of trying to keep our reserves healthy. Not ballooning them, of course, but certainly keeping cash flow healthy and not maximizing our debt limit. As you know, the town can borrow up to 75% of your debt limit without any requirements of having the ministerial approval, and we're trying to keep that below 65%. So the budget you have before you does accomplish that. And that's it in a nutshell. Sorry there was no sound on my presentation, but it's definitely better.
The sound was old technology.
Yeah, that's right. Put it to that.
Thank you very much for that summary. For my own part, I want to identify two things in particular. One is during the election in 2013, the community said very loudly, very clearly, and has been saying so in every consultation, every opportunity to do so since then, that housing is a crying need in this community, specifically affordable housing. And that, of course, is why council has made, I think, an aggressive move with the initial capital injection for housing. How that manifests itself, you're quite right, is to be developed throughout 2015. The other thing I want to identify is that for the first time in my recollection, certainly in my 17 years of living in Drayton Valley, we have actually had meaningful budget consultations. They've taken different forms in different audiences. We intend to build on that consultation process in subsequent budget years, and I very much look forward to the public's engagement in that regard. Understand that raising taxes, or the prospect of raising taxes, is not easy. There is not robust tolerance for tax increases on the part of many councillors, and we balance that with the need to achieve the goals and aspirations of the community. I want to thank administration for their role in the budget consultation process this year, and of course rely on your engagement in that process next year. So with that, I'll open it up to questions or comments from council. Councillor Long.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo to some extent what's just been said there. I certainly didn't walk into this process envisioning a significant tax increase, but through the consultation process, and going back to before the last election and the conversations we all heard, the housing issue is clearly something that we need to address. Just ignoring it and hoping it will go away isn't working. So I'm very, very happy that we're taking this decision, that we're moving forward on that, and hopefully we get something dealt with within the foreseeable future. So it's all good news.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Long. Anything further? Councillor Schuler.
Yeah, I agree with most of the comments that have been made so far. Again, I do want to stress that this is interim, that we are waiting for some studies to come back, which should be probably early January. That will give us a better idea on the capital side, and adjustments may be made. We'll have to we'll review that once we get the studies back to see exactly where we're going to be sitting. And this isn't finalized as of yet. This is just interim, so that we can, especially the operational side, so that we can continue operating as a town. And we'll look at the final budget into the new year and move forward on that. So this is, again, want to stress, is interim, and though it's a substantial tax increase, which I've never been in favor of, this does address some of the concerns that were brought forward by the public, as well as some of our capital deficit that we do have, and things that we're going to have to do to continue our community to grow and prosper.
Thank you, Councillor Schuler. Councillor Bossert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as I quickly make notes, as I do during council, I'd like to point out that the budget reflects that our town is growing. We are appointing nearly $8 million for major road improvement and over $2 million for a general housing project. And these are funds that we're hoping to put aside and apply to the needs of our community, which is roadways and housing. So I'm very pleased about that. And like the mayor already mentioned, when council approaches the community for consultation on what they would like to see developed in the community, we have heard strongly about recreation, and we have a healthy budget for recreation, and we've heard housing, and we're starting to address that. So I'm pleased with this interim budget. Our studies that come through in the spring may alter a few things, or we'll have to adjust as they come in, but I am glad to see that this budget really does address some of the growing needs of our community.
Thank you, Councillor Bossert. Anything further? Councillor Nadeau.
Thank you. I would just echo those comments. What I'm pleased to say about the budget is I think it's a very balanced budget in terms of there's infrastructure needs, the housing needs, and there's the quality of life that I think is something we heard very loud and clear in this year's budget consultation. Recreation is important, arts and culture are important, and we heard a large number of community members say that. So I'm happy to see that for the first time we have a reflection of not just hard infrastructure and toilets flushing, which is all the major priority, let's face it, but that we have those quality in life, so we like and we love where we live, and we can continue to grow and continue to get people that want to plant their seed in our community and and raise their families here. So I'm happy to see that that's addressed in this budget.
Thank you very much. That's it. Very good. Thank you.
Just to finalize the comments, if I could, I agree, your great comments, and it is definitely an interim budget. Obviously, if the assessment comes in and the new development was 15%, you could look at a no tax increase, right? The budget reflects the requirement for an increase in tax revenues, but obviously if you can get that from new development, then that's definitely excellent. So that could have an impact on what the overall impact the average resident is going to see. But as well, for the last several years, the tax increase for the town of Drayton Valley, while other communities have been seeing double-digit increases in taxes, we've been keeping them at basically inflation. So again, this year would call for an inflationary adjustment aside from the investment in the new programs and the infrastructure that's required. So you are seeing that. It is a growing community for sure. But again, it's this is just an interim budget, so general public get ready for it for sure. But once we have the final assessment data, then we can get that information out as to what the average person is going to see for an increase in their residential taxes.
Great, and thank you very much, Clayton, for being omnipresent throughout the budget process, and being that black cloud that we rely on so much. Thanks so much. So we have a motion before us, council. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to call a short break to the relief of many. Back to order. Item 7.7, Councillor Long, interim fee schedule.
Excuse me. Thank you. The Council Management Committee, which I believe is the same as the Governance and Priorities Committee, has recommended approval of the 2015 interim fee schedule for the town of Drayton Valley as presented on December 3rd, 2014. Council then has been asked to approve the 2015 interim fee schedule for the town of Drayton Valley. So I move that Council approve the 2015 interim fee schedule as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Tracy, did you have any comments you wanted to make with regard in relation to any increases, decreases?
No, I think per discussion at the last meeting, we were going to go with this, and then for the final, when we bring the final budget, we'll bring the final fee schedule with any explanations that council is requesting for an overage of over 3%. Decided on.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Very good. Oh, yep, Councillor Nettle.
Just to maybe just clarify those comments, Joan, that I had in looking at it, they're all just numbers and reflective, but what's the rationale behind it? And because it's interim, we need to have it in place by January.
Right.
And when giving them presentation, that I would hope at that time, then that I have the kind of the key triggers of the anything 3% increase or so on. And I think Councillor Farrell had suggested that. Wheeler, that that we had that going forward, because we do get those kinds of questions, and it's important to get the rationale behind it or the recommendations and know that it's not just inflationary. Sometimes there is good sound reasoning behind the increases or potential decreases, so it's important that we get that information. So I do look forward to when we do pass the final one, that we do have that backgrounder to give for our community.
Right. And that we get the prices in line, where I think it's been
Absolutely.
a while since we've done any really digging in to see if we're getting the proper fees. So.
Great. Anything further? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.8, Councillor Schuler.
Thank you. At 10:53, I move that council move and go in camera.
Great. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. All right, Councillor Schuler.
Yes, I move that council come out of Sorry. I move that council come out of camera at 11:16.
Thank you, Councillor Schuler. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Schuler.
Thank you. I move that council table the offer to purchase for lands legally described as Lot 1, Plan 7622449 until a future council meeting.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Item 7.9, amending bylaw 2014-21C. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. Amending bylaw 2014-21C is being brought back to council to receive the necessary third reading. Bylaw 2008-01C authorizes the town of Drayton Valley to establish the Drayton Valley Early Childhood Development Center Board and to outline the duties and responsibilities of that board. At the October organizational meeting of council, the number of council representatives to the Child Care Board was changed from 2 to 1. As an amending bylaw, there is therefore required to permit the change to the composition of the board. The amending bylaw also covers the change in meeting frequency from every month to every second month. Therefore, I move council give first reading to amending bylaw 2014-21C.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I move that council give second reading to amending bylaw 2014-21C.
Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I move that council consider third reading of amending bylaw 2014-21C.
Okay. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Wheeler.
I move that council give third and final reading to amending bylaw 2014-21C.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? I'd be astonished. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right. Item 7.10, Councillor Bossert, Library Board Member Appointment.
Thank you. The Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board, established under bylaw 9915 and amended in 2009-02B, states that 5 or a minimum of 3 members of the community at large may serve a 3-year term. We have an application from Pat Adamson, who worked at Frank Maddock High School for 29 years, and she resides in the town of Drayton Valley. We need 1 more member who resides in the town of Drayton Valley to fill our last position on the Drayton Valley Library Board. Therefore, I move that council appoint Pat Adamson to the Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board for a term of 3 years to be reviewed in October 2017.
Thank you, Councillor Bossert. Any discussion on this motion? All right. I think it's an excellent addition to the library board. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 7.11, Councillor Nadeau, appointment of a returning officer.
Thank you, Mark. With the resignation of Councillor Nancy McClure on November 17, 2014, the position of councillor is now vacant, and the town of Drayton Valley will have to hold a by-election for the position of councillor. For the by-election process to properly follow the Local Authorities Elections Act, council must appoint a returning officer. Administration is recommending that an outside company and individual be contracted for the services of returning officer. Therefore, I move that the CAO Manny Diol or his designate be appointed as returning officer for the 2015 by-election for the town of Drayton Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Nato. Any discussion on this motion? And of course, it's a necessary housekeeping detail leading up to the by-election. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 7.12, Councillor Long, approval of by-election dates.
Thank you. The town of Drayton Valley must hold a by-election for the vacancy of councillor. The Local Authorities Elections Act outlines that there is a required period of advertising for nomination day. As per bylaw 2008-05-A, nomination day will be from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon on nomination day. Administration and Council have reviewed the timeline as addressed in the MGA Section 165. The date of January 6, 2015 is being proposed as nomination day. Administration is also recommending February 3rd, 2015 as election day for the by-election. So I move that Council approve Tuesday, January 6, 2015 as nomination day for the position of Councillor for the town of Drayton Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Any discussion on this motion? Sandra?
There was something I just wanted to mention in terms of dates. The nomination date really shouldn't be a problem, but in terms of the election date following, the the Local Authorities Elections Act requires that the election be held within 4 weeks of that date, or at minimum, cannot be held before 4 weeks from that date. If there's an intention to have an advance poll date, then the proposed date of February 3rd would need to be moved. So it's something that I just wanted to bring up, because if we're setting the dates now, we need to consider that.
Okay.
That February 3rd could be, it's the first available date.
I was thinking about this. Now, I know the Local Authorities Elections Act says that the election is 4 weeks from nomination day, but I don't recall what it says with respect to the date or the timing of any advance polls, should we choose to have one. I think when I was first presented with the notion, which I think was yesterday, about the prospect of an advance poll, I think the initial thought was, well, have it when the proposed election day is, and bump the election day back, but not sure that would work either. I think when it says it has to be 4 weeks, it has to be 4 weeks. I don't think an advance poll enters into that discussion. The advance poll would be sometime within that 4 weeks. That's my recollection and understanding. I guess first, Council might want to think about, certainly when we get to the next motion, if not this one. This one isn't directly affected, but the next motion certainly is, or could be amended to allow for an advance poll if Council has that desire. I'm not sure that it's particularly necessary in February. If the election were in January, then I might be more concerned about it, because people still are often away for a couple of weeks in that month. But in any event, Councillor Nato?
So just to clarify then, and people in our community, because we're a winter community, generally from December on until March are going to be gone traveling and so on. So I would think that could be an issue. I don't know for a large majority it would be, but you do hear that. And because we've heard that in terms of when we have development issues that come forward for public consultation during those timeframes, it's a little bit more challenging for people to attend. Is it not at all possible to have that as just to do the advance polling on February 6th or 3rd and just move the election date to the following week, just a week, or?
That's what I'm saying. That was the original thought, but as I think about it, my recollection of the Local Authorities Elections Act is that the election day must be 4 weeks from nomination day. Section 185, maybe? Do you have it there in front of you?
Section 25 indicates that nomination day shall be 4 weeks before election day.
Oh, okay. Councillor Wheeler?
I think for me, considering that this is a by-election, if this was a regular election, I'd for sure want to have the option of a advanced polls for people that are away, but I think considering that it's a by-election, typically voter turnout is lower anyway, and for the cost and the fee of setting up everything, you still have to do it as a full-scale election day and have it all the poll open. It's a huge amount of work for a 1 week difference, and typically I'd say if people are gone, it could be for more than that at that point anyway, so I just not sure if I would see the need to call, especially because we are setting this now. We're giving people a good 2 months notice, right? So people are probably either already booked and they're going to be away at that point, or they're not.
Okay. Councillor Bossert?
Is there not a process where people can put ballots in to a designated area, to the returning officer anytime after nomination day? Is
You're-
there some kind of process there?
You're talking about a special ballot?
Yes.
And I'll leave that to Chandra to answer. But you are talking about a special ballot.
That was going to be one of the resolutions I would be bringing forward at the January 7th council meeting, because it requires a resolution from council if special ballots will be allowed. So it's something that we'd need to consider. The only problem is if like what I'm hearing, it sounds like more people that might go to Arizona, somewhere down south, the opportunity to get them the ballots and have them get them back within the required time, it's not guaranteed, but.
Right. Right. The goal is to facilitate participation in the election to the reasonable extent possible. Councillor Long?
Yeah, you just said what I was going to say, but given turnout is likely to be disappointingly low, I would hate to shut the door on anybody who would like to vote. There may be a handful of people who feel very passionate about one or other candidates, and it'd be a shame if they didn't get the chance because they happen to. Entirely conceivable people have already booked a trip to Mexico on that day, and they ain't going to be able to cancel. So as many opportunities as possible would be what I would like to see.
Right. All right. What I would do, we've got a motion before us for the nomination date, which we can proceed with, and I will call the question in a moment. There's another motion that hasn't been read yet, and so after this motion, my inclination is to allow administration a bit of time whilst we pour over the rest of the agenda to examine that issue of the advance poll. So we have the motion regarding the setting of the nomination day before us. Any further discussion on that motion? No? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to move on to item 8.0, and we'll revisit part 2 of 7.12. 8.0 information items. 8.1, the APRA Conference Counselor Report from Councillor Wheeler, and 8.2, the ECDC Child Care Operational Board September 15th minutes. Can I get a motion to accept those items as information? Councillor Long, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 9.0, Department Reports. 9.1, Planning and Development. Jen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's not a whole lot to report for the last 3 weeks. Recently, we have approved the 20-unit complex for the condo, so we now have an additional 8 duplexes and 1 fourplex. I will be bringing the stats forward for 2014 at the end of January. And then just to let the public know that I will be away on Christmas holidays. My last day will be the 19th, and I'll be back in the office January 5th.
Very good. Thank you very much. Item 9.2, engineering and transportation. Sonia.
Morning. There's not much going on in engineering right now, other than snow, which we're getting cleaned up. The new water treatment plant will be on holidays. The construction will be suspended for the holidays that are coming up for Christmas. There will be some skeleton staff on site. And Public Works, the snow removal is completed for around the town. We're working on laneways right now. The southwest quadrant is completed, and they're currently working in the downtown and southeast quadrant. And they are busy putting up the signs for the new TDG bylaw that has been approved, and will, once those signs are all up and completed, there'll be an information campaign started.
Okay. For my own part, I've heard many good things about the snow removal process, so my compliments to your department. The other thing was a question related to the construction of the new water plant. In terms of timing and schedule, construction, completion date, are we on time?
Completion date is still set for the summer of 2015.
Okay. Excellent. They could learn a few things. The highway people could learn a few things from the water people. Great. Councillor Wheeler.
I have a question, and it might be more suited for Tom, I'm not sure, but about the transportation bylaw. If there is someone who has a vehicle that transports flammable, whatever, I know it has a sign on it, and but they drive it right to their house and they're parking at their house, but that's not on the dangerous goods route. That will not be allowed, right? You know?
I have to go back and look back in my memory, but I believe it's based on volume too, so just because it's placarded, there's also a volume, but Tom could probably clarify that.
Okay, I'll check with him. Thank you.
Good question. Councillor Bossert.
Good morning, Sonia. Town is growing. We have more roads that have been paved throughout the year, including one in my neighborhood that connected, it's an extension of 39th Avenue headed over to Sunrise Village. As those roads are connected and become new thoroughfares, is the town responsible for plowing them?
We become responsible when the construction completion certificate has been signed over.
Okay.
So the developer or their engineer has to apply for that construction completion certificate first.
Yeah, just south of where I live, a thoroughfare was connected and completed in midst of the rain and the snow and the rain. So I wondered if there had been a request not to plow it this winter because it was a brand new paving, but perhaps that certificate hasn't been issued. And I was just inquiring as to the protocol of how and when new connectors are.
They have not applied for that piece yet, and they're not ready to.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further for Sonia? No? Thank you. 9.3, Community Services, FCSS, and Sustainability.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things to report on. We have started the work again on the Eleanor Pickup Art Center. Temple Contracting is on site and working on the existing foundation. Also meeting with the contractor on a regular basis, as well as the sort of subcommittee of the EPAC Society, just to make sure everything's in line. Also working with Brazeau County and both legal counsels with respect to the agreements between the county and the town on EPAC in terms of the joint ownership arrangement. And probably of note in this report is the fact that we have hosted 4 public workshops on community park designs. So those 3 parks dealing with the downtown park, Rotary Park, and the park situated on the old HW pickup grounds. Not necessarily great attendance, but last session we had 13 people attend, so, but certainly engaging information and a lot of feedback. What's interesting, and I think this will come out just because of the discussions, certainly directed themselves to getting a definite focus on each of those park areas. And I think that's going to help us a lot in our planning efforts. Other than that, just a couple things on behalf of FCSS. One, I have distributed some information on the Drayton Valley and District FCSS Family Holiday Hoopla. Not too sure who came up with the name, but anyway, it's being called the Hoopla. But it is something that we are encouraging families to take part in this photo scavenger hunt. So it's encouraging families to get together over the course of the next little while and take certain photographs of their family engaged in a number of different activities. And the list is also described there in terms of what they are asking for. So it really is a connection between, one, just asking families to get together, but also certainly exposing those families to the different types of resources that are available within our community. So again, very much following what Dr. Unger did present in his presentation and trying to say that our programs and our courses try to, of course, achieve some of that impact. So we are encouraging people to participate in that. And again, definition of family, you can create your definition of what you think your family means to you and what that family consists of. The last thing, of course, is just at the last FCSS budget, or last FCSS meeting, we talked about FCSS funding in the future, and of course, everyone's always concerned about what's going to happen within the provincial scene with respect to budget. So we are certainly arranging an opportunity to meet with our MLA to certainly emphasize the importance that FCSS plays in our community and the province of Alberta, unique to the province of Alberta, and certainly important to the province of Alberta. So that's a focus.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Annette? No? Okay. Information and Protective Services, I don't see Ness in here. Was there anything to...
Your Worship, Nason is in the union negotiations today.
Ah, so you'd rather be here, is that...
Since yesterday, they are into the negotiations, but I think the report after the last snow removal, every council member got as an email, and we got Councillor Wheeler's suggestions also, posting the ticket so people can see. So Nason will not have any report at this time.
And yourself?
Yeah, I can.
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess in the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, after our meetings in Netherlands, excuse me, we have signed that MOU with the Energy Academy Europe, which eventually is going to come to council for approval. Yet we got the information, and now we were waiting from Europe, so we got it now. So it'll probably end up in January meeting. And I think some of the things, we even talked to them on the phone yesterday, some of the things they're very interested in is biomass potential, what we have in this area, and they want to work on that biomal. And they're very interested in bioaviation fuel research and development here with WestJet and KLM. We're working on an Entrance business plan, which we kind of showed you a little video, or a little, what was that, PowerPoint the other day, last council meeting. And we are working on some innovative grants for cyber infrastructure, smart homes, and also self-healing gas pipelines. And there is some discussions going on with the industry, both forest and oil and gas industry, and there is a lot of interest in that area. This CETC is on target, it's on budget. There is some work needed before we present to council in February, because then we can show you the color of the tile and everything, right to the details. It's being worked on there's some holiday season is also delaying that thing, but otherwise, I think they're putting the deck on, roof deck right now, so it started to show up, and I think that's where the progress is. And I think opening of the project water plant next year, and opening of the CETC 16. So we will have 2 major years to have some serious some openings, and I think we should discuss at the committee of the whole what council wishes to do and when they want to do that. So we could set some dates, because it takes a while how you want to do that for the openings, and because this water plant has been a very major project. And now, other than that, Wasteway is still a struggle, and we are, Walker Environmental from Ontario has done a report, and they want to partner with us, and it's in discussions. For some reason, they want us to go and visit their site before, because Mr. Watt was here a few months ago. So that's in the works yet. Will come to council, and there's a couple other companies we have found. One is SDAC in Holland, and there's VAM in France, and they might be able to meet with our grant criteria. Otherwise, the grant will be going back next June to CCEMC if we cannot find a home for our solid waste. And there's something we want to discuss further is about conference planning for 2016. And Norquest business plan is, we're meeting on December 15th to finish that. At least we could come to the final stages of our agreement with Norquest about leasing the building and how they want to be partner in the other part of the plan. And in the meantime, Cosset Marketing Company has had a retreat here, and they have interviewed a few people like the mayor, Diana McQueen, and people from Alberta Innovates, and our council. I think we had a retreat, council members there last Friday. Was it last Friday? Yeah. And we're going to have a report next Thursday. So this is that grant council approved and we got from the feds for international marketing. That's what we're doing this marketing plan. And so we will have some CETC plans for you. PTAC had a workshop. I think, again, maybe Farrell and the mayor could give you more update on that conference. And that's all for my report today, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Nothing yet on 7.12. Right. Okay. Okay. We'll get into council reports. Just don't let me adjourn the meeting without dealing with that item, because that's kind of an important detail. And should we come to the end of the meeting and the question hasn't been resolved, then we will proceed with the motion and determine whether or not council wishes to add an advance poll. Yeah, we'll just have to deal with that as it comes. Council reports. Item 10.1, Councillor Wheeler. Manny, turn your mic off.
Thank you. November was wonderful, busy. There's lots of things going on, lots of Christmas festivities, which I always like. So I think we were all happy to be in the town parade running down the street. It was a little bit less slippery than last year, which we appreciated a lot. Thank you for whoever controls the weather. Glenn, you normally take credit for that. So being at the Sound of Music was a wonderful performance put on by EPAC. I think everyone is very proud and been talking about it a lot, about all the accomplishments that they've been making. Our physician retention committee has met, and we do have a doctor coming for a site visit on December 30th. So over from the UK, they'll be coming by. And I got to, attend the fracking workshop, which was definitely very interesting. I went because I don't know a lot about it. So learning how it works in the process and what they're doing and future plans and stuff, it's really neat to see that there's a lot of growth in that industry, in that area. It's not just stagnant, like anything, I guess. But yeah, so I have a report coming on it for sure that goes through some of the basics that I did not know, and I'm sure it will enlighten others who are on the same page as me. Getting to go to one of the schools so far, and hopefully more in the future right away. I did get a chance to play Minute to Win It with some of the, junior high kids that did beat me. At shooting elastics, my thumb was very sore the next day. And then doing our sustainability review. Again, we're almost at the closing process where we finished our final consultation before the draft comes out. So that should be coming before the end of December, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. And then attending the Snowman Lane light up was super fun for the kids, and outside everybody was sitting by the fire and singing songs, and it was really packed, which was great. And then I got to attend a EPBR meeting. Yeah, and they have some big things coming up. For anyone who doesn't know, they previously were quite heavily funded through the province, but that's changed. Their grant has run out, has finished up. So they're looking at doing more funding and campaigns and stuff. And right now they've got a campsite they're looking at building. It's a walk-in tent site. So there'll be about 16 to 20 units, kind of past the ski club trails, heading east towards the river. And Rotary has just committed to funding for them over $120,000 over the next 3 years. And then also they've got a funding commitment from the Parks Alberta has committed $50,000 a year for the next 3 years to kind of help with operations of the stuff they're already in control of, and they are looking at expanding. So yeah, there's lots of information, lots of stuff going on. It's been great.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor Wheeler. 10.2, Councillor Bossert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. November hasn't been quite so busy for me, as I was able to take a little break and enjoy the rainy island of Victoria for a few days. But before I went, I was a guest at the Drayton Valley Genealogy Association's 20th anniversary evening, where we were entertained by a gentleman with a number of pieces of military artifacts, so it was actually a very interesting evening. As Councillor Wheeler mentioned, Sound of Music was in our community for 6 nights over 2 weekends in November, and I have to sing the praises of the Drayton Valley Players, EPAC, and especially Ali Spicer-Reese, who was the main director. It was a huge undertaking. A family member of mine was part of, not the cast, but part of the crew, as was Councillor Wheeler's father. And not only did they do our town proud, but they showed us the talent that's in our community, our facilities, how they can be utilized for the public's enjoyment. So it was top-notch production, and it has caused my family to alter our travel plans in Europe to make sure we get to Salzburg in the spring. So it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. Was able to attend a Housing First webinar where we looked at the Housing First model that's been implemented in a number of larger communities in Canada, and a few smaller communities have started to develop their own Housing First model, and we ourselves will continue to look at that model and see how we can make it fit for our own community. It's not just a cookie cutter model. It's developed and augmented for every community that chooses to use it. So that was on the Friday of the big storm, so I'm really glad we chose not to go to Calgary for a 2-hour seminar, but rather to do a webinar here in the safe and warmness of our own office. Have really enjoyed the sustainability and the social plan review process that we've been doing as council with the community. It's very helpful for me and for all of council, I think, to review these plans on a regular basis and to change what needs to be changed and to celebrate what we've achieved. And we have achieved many significant milestones in our community in those 2 plans, but I am enjoying that review process, and like Councillor Wheeler said, we're looking forward to finalizing a newer draft again. December 1st, at the hosting of Breton Council, we attended a joint council with Breton Council, Brazeau County Council and Drayton Valley Council. Just a good opportunity for all three councils to work together to share ideas, concerns, and to discuss how we can work together mutually as an area as opposed to three separate communities. So there is always some benefit to those discussions. So other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot for me coming up for the rest of December, so I would just like to wish the community a safe and happy Christmas season. Stay safe as you travel, if you are traveling, and just enjoy this season to spend time with family and friends.
Thank you, Councillor Bossert. I'm going to go back to item 7.12 just to ensure that everybody's awake and following along. Councillor Long, I believe you had another motion?
Indeed, I did.
I knew that.
Thank you. I have lost the place. Here we are. I move that council approve Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015 as a by-election date for the position of councillor for the town of Drayton Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Long. And Chandra, were you able to extract some information from others?
Finally tracked somebody down. Yes, I contacted Municipal Services, and they said that the advance poll would be held within that 4-week period. So we can maintain the February 3rd date and have an advance poll before that. So.
Okay. And so the question is for council to determine whether or not they want an advance poll. And so I'd like to hear from people on that. Councillor Long, Councillor Nadeau, anybody else? Councillor Bossert?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think the opportunity to get as many people involved in this as possible, and if it's only an extra dozen or so, so be it. I would hate to exclude anybody because they happen to have already booked a holiday. It could be a family member running and you can't support them because you got something on. So give them as much opportunity as possible.
More is more. Okay. Councillor Nadeau.
Thank you. I agree. I think as Councillor Wheeler had said, third time I got it this time, stated the costs associated with are the same, and the effort is the same for a by-election, whether it be one individual or 7 running. So I would like to see us do every effort to be consistent in terms of what we do out in the community. And I challenge the community to have higher numbers, honestly, I think. And I think that's on council to do, and we can start those conversations as well and change how we develop that. And I think there's an opportunity there to get higher numbers. So I would hope to see, how about that? And I would hope to see that there are people out there in the community that are concerned or have issue or did not like a decision. And those people through this last year that we've heard really vocally from, I would really hope to see their names on the ballot and to really to be part of the process and the community and be that voice if they feel that that's not being met. I think there's an excellent opportunity that's off the side of having the polling stations. But
thanks. Councillor Bossert.
If memory serves me, I was part of a by-election process 5.5, 6 years ago. And to those who do put their name on the ballot that day, that fact that it's a by-election is no less important. And because we are having an election in February, which is just on the shoulder of our holiday season, only one opportunity would limit people to get out and vote. So I certainly, from the viewpoint of a candidate, would welcome more than one opportunity to vote. And I think I agree with Councillor Nadeau's suggestion that we challenge people to get out and vote more vigorously in a by-election and get those numbers up. The people that put their names on the ballot, that is a huge decision for themselves and for their families, and they deserve the support of the community by turning out to vote. So I am in support of an extra voting opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler, or sorry, Councillor Schuler. Yeah, I know.
You're looking good today,
So were you. Thank you. I concur. I think any opportunity we can give people to get out and vote, cost-wise, it's a part of doing business. Unfortunately, when a by-election arises, there is that additional cost, and it's part of our democratic process, so I think it's something that people have come to expect, that there will be the opportunity to vote in advance if circumstances dictate for them. So, yeah, I'm fully in favor of that.
Thank you. Anything further? For my own part, a significant part of the reason I ran for mayor was to encourage people to become involved in the process. There is no greater responsibility for our citizens than to vote, and there is no greater responsibility for us as a council than to ensure the availability of that voting process. And so I too favor an advance poll. Now, I will leave it to one of you to make a motion to amend this motion that Councillor Long has put forth to call for an advance poll on normally 1 week before the election day.
With the last election, we had it approximately, I think it'd be 3 business days ahead, so we had it on the Thursday. We had quite a good turnout. I don't know if just a fluke or what that was, but I don't know if it's too soon, too close to the election time, but I was going to propose perhaps the Thursday before.
Which would be what date?
That was the 29th of January. It's not a full week in advance, but I'm thinking sometimes it's the day of the week that's a problem for people. So if Tuesday's a problem,
Thursday was magical the
before.
last time, it might be magical this time.
I don't know.
Okay. Very good. That's good information. Thank you. Do I see an amending motion? Councillor Bossert. The current motion reads, I move that council approve Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015 as by-election for the position of councillor for the town of Drayton Valley. And Councillor Bossert wishes to make an amending motion to that motion.
I move that we include the opportunity for an advance poll on January 29th, 2015.
I'd suggest that just be a second sentence to the motion. All right, we have an amending motion. Any discussion on the amending motion? Kind of already had it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And so we're dealing with the motion as amended. Any further discussion on that? No? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, we're back to council reports. Councillor Nadeau.
Thank you, Mayor. On November 20th, I had a lengthy meeting with a developer. And then later that day, I had the subcommittee for our health committee, working with possibility through TELUS, which was pretty exciting, and working on that. November 21st was the light up parade, and that was a lot of fun. Thank you for letting me drive. I did enjoy it, cranking up the music and having the heated seat. November 26th, had the council visit to the Drayton Christian School. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the email that we received from the school afterwards that the kids were talking about it all day. I think that's great. That's why you go, and to have that conversation and knowing that something that they could potentially do too. Kudos to Councillor Wheeler. I think you came in second, so that's not bad. Out of 3, but still pretty good. And I have pictures to prove it. So it was a fun day. Also had the Heritage Committee that myself, Councillor Long, and Councillor Schuler are a part of as well in terms of a possible legacy project, and working on developing a planning stages or phases to bring back to council, and where we're going with that, which I enjoy. On November 29th, I volunteered at EPAC as on behalf of the EPAC board to do the concession so that River Valley players had all their players available to shine on stage. They were tremendous, and that's the best part of volunteering is you get to see the show too. And it was that was their final night, and the standing ovation. It was so wonderful, and the flowers, and every majority of people, I would say 80% of people stayed for the entire night in terms of all the flowers and the kudos and congratulations. It was a really great feeling to know that, you know, when people say that our community can't sustain arts and culture, and that 6 nights of sold-out shows. And the bar said hi for River Valley players. I was talking to Joanne Nelson later that evening to say, so when's your next show? Too soon? So they're already thinking big, and they were amazing. So I just kudos to all of them. December 2nd was the sustainability review during the day, which I was a part of the original sustainability plan. So having the opportunity to do the review and kind of see where those gaps assessments are and where we can strengthen and improve upon was really excellent, and I appreciated the opportunity to do so again. Later that evening was followed by budget discussions and finalizing that. December 4th, in the morning, I was able to meet with a potential candidate in the upcoming election, and I would just say to anyone thinking of running in the upcoming election, now that we've set the dates, there's always an opportunity to contact any one of the town councilors, and we can, we'll bring our expense books, we'll bring well, I did, I'm sure everybody else would too, our calendars to know what the job is, what the role is, the time commitments, anything like that. Where I guess I can't speak for all of council, but I enjoy doing that, and the best part of this is that I get to be more of a coach instead of on the front lines, which is a wonderful change of pace. So, and that we're looking at developing some campaign school locally that we can, we can get our dates around that, helping any existing candidate. So I'm really excited about that process as well. And I really want to, as I said earlier, lay down the gauntlet for the community and getting higher numbers. And we will do our part as elected officials to give that education out there on the role and responsibilities and opportunities to learn how you can be part of a community. And it's all about it being engaged and inspiring. And it's all, of all the journeys I've had in my life, this is one that although there have been ups and downs, I've never regretted it once. So I would encourage anyone to get out and be that positive voice for the community. Later that day, I was able to attend the park design for the Civic Center across the street. I really enjoyed that session. It was lower turnout, and I would have hoped that a lot of the commercial businesses in the downtown core would have had would have come out. We did have nearing the end a couple of commercial businesses come out, but it would have been nice to see what the district around would have seen the value of, and how it can improve their business and strengthen. And so it was almost kind of a lost opportunity for those commercial sector. But as Annette had said earlier, there's an opportunity once a plan is developed to get that further consultation and feedback into the process. And that later that evening, I was able to attend the old HW pickup site design, and I really enjoyed that one as well. And Councillor Wheeler has already sent me pictures of a cafe, which got a lot of feedback, so I'm going to send that to Annette so she has part of that as well. And it was just a really great session about how each one of them are their own unique spaces and really developing that, and that strengthens their success. I really enjoyed the session. I think the facilitator was great. He was a taskmaster. He was firm. You put your phone away. But it was a great session. I really enjoyed it. I was so excited to see the future visioning and what the community could look like. So I was really excited. He did a tremendous job. And Kayla, his support staff there, they were excellent, and I would highly recommend having them part of any of our future planning in terms. I really enjoyed that. And then yesterday, or no, the day before, I had my first FCSS meeting, being on the term, and it was their big grant run and push. And I really enjoy this group and being on FCSS because it's close to my heart with community programming and what we're able to do. And I really just amazed at how much is going on in our community. So happy holidays, safe holidays, enjoy everybody's Christmas concerts that are out to all the schools, and get out and enjoy the weather.
Thank you very much. Councillor Long.
Thank you. I'll try and be brief. I also attended the parade on the 21st of November, and echo Councillor Wheeler's comments about the state of the road was much nicer than last year when it started snowing just as we were getting going. So always a good time. On the 25th, I had the very great pleasure of receiving a cheque from TELUS on behalf of the library board, which will help to pay for some new technology. That's awesome. Later that day, I attended a function with the Clean Energy and Technology Centre, essentially to say farewell to Phil Chatters, who has retired after a year and a half, a couple of years working with us, and a long time with Norquest prior to that. So wish him well. Drayton Christian School's already been mentioned. That was a good time. Enjoyed it a lot, especially in Councillor Wheeler's efforts. The only thing I noticed was that the applause when we left was suspiciously loud. But I look forward to doing that again at other schools. Joint Council on the 1st of December. Already been talked about. Sustainability Plan Review on the 2nd. Governance and Priorities on the 3rd. The only one of the parks meetings I got to attend, I had other commitments. The rest of the time was the one for the old HW pickup area, but as Councillor Nadeau indicated, an interesting process, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of that. We had the CETC marketing session on Friday, and then I had the library board last night, and with that, I just wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Councillor Schuler.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief. Most of council's already touched on the events and stuff that I've attended, and the one I want to highlight is the Pembina Area Synergy meeting that I attended on November 26th. This meeting is actually very interesting because it brings out the producers, and they're starting to bring out more of the companies that do work for those producers. So getting a much better overall view of the industry and what's going on and what's affecting it. So it was a very good meeting. They're looking at changing their meeting times from evenings to daytime. So it may make it easier or it may make it tougher for some. And the next one will be coming up in January, and it will be a daytime meeting. So we'll see how that goes and how it affects things. Hopefully I can still fit it into my my calendar, because it is a very good meeting to attend. Other than that, I do want to make two quick comments. One on the parade. I echo Councillor Wheeler's comments on it, and I just want to say to the organizing committee, well done. The attendance was fantastic, and the number of floats and people participating in the parade was very encouraging. As the other one I want to just touch quickly on is the Drayton Christian School. I agree with other members of council that it was a very interesting and fun time, and I enjoy hearing getting the questions and from the students, because they have at times such interesting questions and a unique view, and I think this really helps council to go before these young people that are the future of our community and hear what they have to say. So I'm looking forward to visiting more of the schools in the new year. And other than that, I too want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and please be safe. Enjoy it with your family, and just have a great time.
Thank you. My report, I'll try to keep brief. November 15th to 20th was with Mr. Deal. We were invited to attend a conference in the Netherlands sponsored by the Energy Academy Europe. The the Energy Academy Europe is an umbrella organization which serves as a functional administrative body that coordinates efforts from 2 universities located in Groningen, as well as providing within 2 years they have coordinated a curriculum for students at the university level to take instruction and to develop innovative ideas in renewable energies. That's their focus. They have also developed the Energy College, which is an instructional program for at the vocational level for technical skills training, again in renewable energies. Part of the Energy Academy Europe consists of an organization called NTRANS, which stands for Energy Transition Center, which in many respects operates, if everything in our wildest dreams comes to fruition with respect to the Clean Energy Technology Center in our BioMile, NTRANS already does that in a similar way, again with a narrower focus than what we propose here. But it is because of the connection of NTRANS and the Energy Academy and its and the players there that they saw and we see the opportunity for collaboration and cooperation going forward. And so while attending the conference, an event was organized to highlight a memorandum of understanding that we executed on behalf of the town of Drayton Valley and the Energy Academy Europe, for whose purpose is to encourage cooperation between the Clean Energy Technology Center and the Energy Academy and its components, specifically regarding research, development of research projects. It was an enlightening 5 days. We had several site visits and meetings with officials and industry. Industry being a big component of the Energy Academy, as well as academia and government, all 3 levels of government, was truly an enlightening experience. There will be a report forthcoming, so I won't say any more about that. Got back in time for the light up parade on the 21st, and what a pleasant time that was. So thanks to Councillor Nadeau for driving, and thanks to Public Works for decorating the vehicle. Thank you to Stetson Motors for the donation of the vehicle. Thank you to Jill for arranging the donation of the vehicle. It was an enjoyable time for our community. November 26th, I was honored to give an opening address at the Petroleum Technologies Alliance Conference, which Councillor Wheeler alluded to earlier, and I look forward to her report from that conference. The Drayton Christian School attendance was the same morning, so I wasn't able to attend the entire time, but about 45 minutes at the school, and it was entertaining. I look forward to that at our other schools as well. In addition to the normal GMP and budget review meetings that we've had in the last little while, I want to add my season's greetings. Merry Christmas to our entire community. It's been an exciting, a busy year, one full of challenges, and we look forward to tackling different challenges in the new year. Thanks very much. And I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Long, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're adjourned.